Welcome in to another edition of Nick Patrick's Mailbag, live on the Podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube channel. How are you, Nick?
Man, I'm doing really well. It's a cool looking new deal we got going on here, man. I'm liking it, man.
We are rocking and rolling.
I'm doing real good, man. How you doing?
Doing fantastic, man. This is super fun. We are now live, and we're going to also be weekly here on the YouTube every single week. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. Don't have to be behind a paywall. We are just all the way live here on our YouTube channel for Podcast Heat Wrestling. We thank y'all for hanging out with us. If you'd like to chat, this is a chat-driven show. So a couple of things. If you are new with us or if you've been hanging out with us, comment in the side, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. We will talk about wrestling, of course, music, food, fun, whatever you want to talk about. That's what Nick Patrick's going to talk about. So we appreciate you. Drop those comments, interact with us. Yes, we're going to lean on you. Sometimes me and Nick can't remember stuff. We need you to remind us what's happening.
Especially Nick. I blame it on the concussions.
So make sure you interact with us that way as well. If you'd like to be in the chat, just a reminder, you have to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It is free, but all you got to do is click that subscribe. You'll be signed up. You'll get notified if you turn on the notifications every time we go live. So make sure you click that. If you want to be in the chat, you have to be a subscriber to our Podcast Heat Wrestling channel. That should be easy. It should be right here around us somewhere. Just click subscribe, and then you can interact in the chats. If we get busy, if you want to interact with us and make sure we do your chat, or if you just like to support Nick Patrick, you can hit us with the super chat. The super chat, you can pay. Those will pop up to the top. We will get to those for sure, 100%, and that goes as well. So if you want to hit us up in the super chat, do that. If not, we'll just run through the mailbag questions we get. We'll run through any topics that me and Nick want to talk about. And some of those that you will find, especially if you are new, and it might be what brought you here, is Deep South Wrestling. Nick, for those catching everybody up, just a short version, you and Deep South Wrestling, you're together forever.
Yeah, well, Pop and I started it back in 1986, and it's had different runs. We stopped it when we was working for WCW, and it's opened up and it became a training facility for WWE, because when we were with WCW, Pop, it more or less evolved into the power plant, and But we wasn't running shows or anything. It just became more strictly a training type thing, But back when we first started, we started off just running a little show, training people actually, and like back in I blew my leg out in '85, and so it was early '86, and Pop bought a ring, and there was a building right down the road from where we was. It's right off of Main 1941 there. So we opened up and we started training people, and it was different back then. Now there's somebody running a show in almost every town now. So back then there wasn't, there was a small indie scene, but there really wasn't, it's nothing like now. When Pop and I first started running shows, we were just, there was a couple of people that did, but I could basically go anywhere. I wouldn't be stepping on anybody's toes, man. And so that's how we started. We had people contacting us, wanting us to have shows because they knew we had a training facility there, and they hadn't had any little, Georgia Championship Wrestling had grown to the point where we wasn't doing a lot of they were referred to as house shows, and spot shows, because they wasn't like normal monthly deals. You'd go there once a year, twice a year, and it'd be just like insane, sold out, but that's basically how it started back then. We were training people, and people asking us if we'd do shows, and we started them. And like I said, now there's somebody there must be 100 different places that people say, man, we're training people. We're going to get you to the next level. And 90% of them hadn't even been allowed to step into a next level locker room, let alone train somebody to participate and to survive one.
And of course, when you say Pop, for those new people, that is the assassin, Jody Hamilton.
Yes.
very long history in the wrestling business, and we'll talk more about him.
Yeah, if you look up our Deep South stuff, you'll see that everything is pretty much built around Pop because he was the founder. You know, our Deep South title has his image right in the middle. The men's title and the ladies' title. You know, our tag team titles are the same ones that we used that I had found from back in the early 2000s. You know, when we were part of the WWE training deal. But you know, everything you'll see, our T-shirts, a lot of our merch, everything is, you see right here on my shirt. If I stand up a little bit, you can see it. But boom, there's a logo right there. There's a Deep South logo right there. Yep, there it is. Bam. Can't get a better advertising
on, man.
than that, man.
Let me be the school bus here.
There you go, man.
That's a school bus size logo.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo. I should have worn my yellow one too, man.
So yeah, we'll get into the Deep South wrestling. You could talk about Nick's dad, Jody Hamilton, and that history there. You could talk about the time when Deep South, like you mentioned, is the lead training facility for the other federations. You could talk about your time. We'll, of course, get to your time, not only as a ref, but starting as a wrestler. We'll get into that. Then, of course, huge run as the nWo heel ref. Are you okay with people calling you the world's most hated ref?
That's fine, man. That means I was recognized. I mean, yeah. As long as they call me, I've been called a lot of things, so that's pretty nice and tame, actually. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, world's most hated ref's a step up, right?
Yeah, that's easy. I can take that one.
So get us a question, anything you want to talk about. We will have fun and talk about it, and we will also talk about every week the current state of Deep South wrestling. As like you said, it is back, it is up and running, and it is rocking and rolling. You guys, just since the couple years since we've been doing the mailbag here, it has grown exponentially, and it keeps getting bigger and better. So we'll get to those. I want to welcome everybody who's hanging out. All of y'all, we see y'all hanging out with us. Remember, if you would like to be a part of it and hit us in the chat, you must be a subscriber of the channel. It is free. Just hit that subscribe button right there on the Podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube page, and then it will let you send us chats and super chats if you want to jump to the front of the line. I see some people already commenting. Mike D, already a new subscriber. Thank you,
right.
Mike.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Mike.
you joining us. And Mike, since you're new and you hopped in and you had the first one in the comment section, we'll hit you up. Mike D wants to know, Nick, whose death affected you the most in wrestling?
Hard to say because they're all so devastating. Being one of Chris Benoit's friends, that had to have been the hardest. You know, they're all. I mean, that's a hard question. But,
especially the circumstances around.
Yeah, the circumstances surrounding all that, and the horror, the tragedy of it all. It's that one I think affected me. They all affected me, but that one. You know, I can't linger too long on that subject even now, honestly. You know, on the dark side of the ring stuff, that there's certain episodes that I just really can't watch because I'm too close to it, man. And I struggle with depression anyway, man. To sit and watch something that I know is going to take me in a bad spot. I can't, and I'm not. I hope everybody does watch those things because those stories need to be told. But I personally was just too close to the people involved, and sometimes you have to, once you grieve over stuff and you kind of put it in a little compartment in a place, it never completely will go away, but you learn how to cope with it and keep it in, and keep it where it doesn't keep poking at you so much. You know what I mean? Yeah,
learn how to deal with it and hold it for when you need it, but still at arm's length.
Yeah, you can't be in the forefront forever, man. It'll take you down.
Speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, which episodes just off the top do you remember being a part of? They want to go back and check those out.
Big Van Vader, and
that was the Vader and Paul Orndorff fight, right?
Mm-hmm. And history of Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Okay,
I was on that one too.
So a few of those and, you can go back and check those out.
Yeah, I was on the one about Tony Atlas as well.
What a character that
I
guy
talked to a lot of
is.
the interviewers. I was on, because they interview a lot, and I ended up because I was there from the very beginning to the very end of the Vader Orndorff brawl. I saw every part of it, and I told the story, but I'm really kind of glad that they didn't tell my what I saw, because it was really more of an Orndorff story, and as it turned out. And I don't like bashing people that are gone. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
And especially when they've got people that are left behind that I saw and that I worried about. Because I remember a lot of my friends bringing their families around every now and then, having little kids, and watching those, seeing those little kids, and then when they pass, I wonder, I think to myself, damn, and I worry about them. And in life now, I have run into a couple of the kids that I had actually worried about. I've talked to Paul Orndorff's kid, Travis, and Big Boss Man's one of his daughters, Lacey. I talked to her on Facebook, and I've seen some different people. I've had Brian Pillman's son come and work for me at Deep South one time. We brought him in, and it was awesome, to get to see him and get to meet him, but you always wonder, because you're friends with them, but you never see the family anymore. And Randy Anderson, another one now. I'm friends with his widow, and his kids are all great. Hell, his young son's an actor now, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah, look, check it out, man. Chase Anderson, or Chance Anderson, Chase Anderson, I think. My dumbass, but he's doing all kinds of acting parts now, man. He's really doing well. When I saw that, I was like, holy crap. He was such a quiet little kid, but he was, he was around the scene, so he's doing well, and his little daughter's doing well. So, I love it when I've worried about somebody for a while, and I see that they're doing good, that they're doing well, thriving, and, and happy, and moving on with life. That makes me feel good, because you wonder, because you never hear or see from a lot of them ever again.
Right, you see them growing up around the building, and then
and then bam, you hear nothing.
They're adults and gone. And
yeah.
Mike D, thanks for hitting us up. He hit us up in the super chat. We appreciate that, Mike.
Thank you,
Mike
man.
said, any memories of Giant Gonzalez or Scott Bigelow?
Giant went around Giant Gonzalez a lot. He traveled a lot. They had traveled with the guy that traveled with him. It was Dave Sierra from down in Florida. He was a Cuban assassin. He traveled a lot with him, and I worked with him a few times. It wasn't there, but there's really no special story. Bigelow, I worked with him some. I do kind of funny Bigelow story. I was WCW did a big show with New Japan and the Tokyo Egg Dome, and our champions was Doom, and they took on their champions, who was Vader and Bigelow. And things are a little different over in Japan, and especially with guys that don't go all the time. They test you, and so evidently they told Vader and Bigelow to eat our guys up, right? So Butch starts off, and he's in the ring with Vader, and
Butch Reed.
Yeah, Butch Reed.
Okay.
And so Vader ends up just giving him that running gimmick in the corner, but man, he came like a freaking train and just about killed poor Butch. And Butch looked at Ron, oh my God. Ron, tag me in. I was like, oh shit. And here come Ron, man. Ron and now this is the Egg Dome. Nobody's ever seen anybody do shit to Vader. He just beat the hell out of everybody, Well, him and Big Ron Simmons circled around each other a couple of times, and they went like they were going to lock up, and Ron just shot him like a single leg, but got Leon over his shoulder and picked him up, stood up with him over his shoulder, and Alabama jammed his big ass right. I mean, planted his big ass right. It was just a shoot, because Leon was like, it was the air, just in the boom, boom. He got planted right in the middle of the ring. And man, it was a sold out Egg Dome. The entire baseball field was ringside seats. There was just as far as you could see people, and every person in that building went, oh, when that happened, you could just feel the sound. And I was like, oh my God, that was a classic moment. So later on in the match, Leon's still in the ring, and I'm circling the ring as a ref, and I circled around over by Bigelow. Bigelow goes, "Hey Nick, telling them guys I don't know what the hell he's doing, but I'm working." Said, okay, brother, I'll pass the word.
Bam Bigelow was watching out for himself, brother.
He's like, man, these guys are killing each other.
Message received.
Let's bring this thing back down to reality here, guys.
And man, I mean, you think about that. That's impressive to shake a guy that's just an absolute monster in Bigelow. Him and Vader,
to scoop Vader of 480, just to scoop him and plant him like a freaking bag of groceries, man. It was so quick and so powerful that I popped just like the Japanese people that was all in there in the middle. I popped myself. It was like, that was one of the more impressive things that I saw, and just spontaneous moments that blows something wide open. Sometimes when you stick to what was everything that was talked in the back, you don't get explosive, just unexpected moments like that, that because they kept our guys apart. They didn't, when we was over there, and I didn't understand why, because they acted like they didn't want them to see them together, like a kayfabe type thing, which was cool, because it's a different culture, so we do things their way. But I didn't realize it was because they told their guys to gobble our guys up, and they picked the wrong two guys, man. Because if Butch would have realized, because Butch could fight too now. Butch wasn't, he was a street fighter.
Those are four grown men in that ring right there.
Man, I'm here to tell you. And I just had to pick me a corner and got the hell out of the way on that one.
Thank you, Mike. Great question. Also, we got a new member, 40 Ounce. He's became a member of the deal. And, of course, we'll talk about him in a little bit when we get into Deep South. He's one of your Deep South wrestling crew.
He's one of our guys, man. Good to see you.
I saw him swinging that chicken stick around.
Man. Oh, yeah, that chicken stick's too much, man. I saw that, and I thought, what in the world, man? And then when I heard the story behind it, I still said, what in the world?
Well, thanks for joining us, 40 Ounce, and signing up. Mike also wants to know a couple things. What was it like with Miss Elizabeth in the nWo? Hit us up in the super chat, so thank you for that. And wants to know a follow-up. Do you think she will ever go into the Hall of Fame? So first, do you think she'll ever go in the Hall of Fame, Nick?
I do. I think she deserves to. She was huge up there, part of the macho persona for so long, and her image. I'm sure the merch that they made off her. Yes, and she was
storyline-wise incredible and integral.
She most definitely deserves to, and more than likely, and I would say, I can't believe she hasn't already, honestly, but she should.
When she comes over and they are joining the nWo, Mike wants to know what was it like with Miss Elizabeth there in that time?
She was so quiet and so nice that she just, stayed to herself and do it. She didn't, she did find out what she needed her to do, and she did her thing, and she talked to her girls and her friends that she had, and it wasn't like it was a huge, impactful, changing thing. She was just a very nice, very, very, very quiet person, and she was friendly to everybody, and it wasn't, I never really sat down and had a lengthy ever conversation with her, ever, but it was always very friendly. Hello, hey, nice and good to see you. And always very friendly, always very cordial, but she was quiet and stayed to herself and did her own thing. So it wasn't really a whole lot different other than knowing she was there, and, you'd run into her once in a while. But she was very friendly, and she was a very, very, very nice lady.
All right, let's see what we got in the mailbag. Tony Flowers. Thank you, Tony. Said, what's up, gentlemen? Nick.
Hey, man.
While you were an active referee, did you have another referee that you really enjoyed watching work? Did any referees stand out as truly amazing at their job during your time specifically? Thanks, fellas. Thank you, Tony, for the question.
Yeah, when I was young, I watched Ronnie West a lot. And so I don't know if anybody would know because
Who was he reffing with then?
It was
Just all
Georgia
the territories?
Georgia, yeah, Georgia Championship Wrestling, but he worked in the office and he worked in different places too. But I met him at Georgia Championship Wrestling, and actually he was the head ref there when I first started. But he was working into office position, was wanting to promote towns and do all kinds of things, and graduate out of the ref deal. But they were still really comfortable with him doing their main events because I was just this green kid that, even though I was doing good, I was still green, and they didn't know about putting me into different slots yet. And really, the first big slot that they put me in that let them know that they could be comfortable with me being in that position was Harley and Dusty did a big angle in the Omni for a title that was a part of an angle that they were doing in Japan, and they had me ref it, and I was like, hell yeah! I was like just turned 20 years old, man. I mean, there was doing this international world title angle.
20 years old in the Omni reffing Harley and Dusty
in my hometown, man. I was like, yeah, so. But then, then they became comfortable with me, and Ronnie ended up going on and getting into the office and stepped away from ref, and he come back just for a couple of special times because it's in your kind of being in the ring is in your blood, and he liked being in the ring and being part of the match. It's really awesome to do that, and but I watched and learned a lot from him because that was a spot that I was going to, and I knew that that he was the guy to watch. And there's other guys that I watched, Tommy Young. I watched him a lot because he always seemed to be in a good spot. But I was different than Tommy, and I didn't want to go out and imitate anybody else. I wanted to be me, but I did watch other people. I didn't really watch Earl until later on in his. I'll tell you who I watched. I watched Dave. Dave was the ref for that Macho Man Steamboat match, and Dave. If you watch that match and watch everybody and watch the ref how Dave Hebner works with Macho Man and Steamboat and is there for every single move. That it was like that match is, and it takes more than two people. That match was like a machine working, a fine-tuned machine, and Dave was right there hitting with every lick that they hit, man. So yeah, if you want to see a damn good referee job, check that match out and watch Dave Hebner.
Let's see what else we got in the mailbag. Adam Krasnov said, I remember that moment on Nitro where you and Eric Bischoff brought out Randy Anderson's wife and kids and humiliated and fired him on live TV. That was some heavy stuff. So during that heel referee run, did any fans ever try to get physical with you in public and test you since you were such a heat magnet on television?
I had to have Doug Dillinger a couple of times walk me to my car. And one time I was with Booker T and Stevie Ray, and a guy started making a move when I was putting shit in the trunk. And they were like, they stepped in like, hey, motherfucker, and he wasn't coming too close. So, but he was looking at me, and then they closed in, and he was like, well, never mind, you're okay now.
Yeah. Talk us through that night going through, quote, firing Randy Anderson live on television and bringing his family out. How does that get set up? I'm sure you have to talk through with everybody.
Yeah, and the little kids was cool with it, and they all knew. But we introduced them, and they saw that I was friends with their daddy because we wasn't going to really jerk emotion out of children. You know what I mean? So they were all, everybody was in on part of the deal, and it was all to set up a match with me and Randy, and that was fun too. We didn't even really have that much of a match. We just did a deal where I did all my strutting around stuff, and I did my Fred Sanford fist, and I threw a couple of punches at him, and he didn't, that. And then finally, I'm doing here it comes, and I did the big wind up like I was going to hit him, and when I turned like I was going to throw it back, he knocked me out, man. The ref had slid him some nuts or something, and bap, they dropped me. It was a one-punch deal. We circled. I threw a couple of jabs, and then it was over. The easiest match I ever had in my life.
Let's see. In our YouTube chat, Matthew Rodriguez said, Nick, memories of your One Night Stand 2006 match between Sabu and Rey Mysterio. Why was it stopped? Was it a real stoppage or a storyline stoppage? And then how was the environment in the Hammerstein Ballroom?
It was a storyline, but it could have gone either way. Sabu,
Close to being a real stoppage.
Yeah, because when Sabu came there, when he first came to WCW, he came there hurt. But this is different. The Hammerstein deal is a WWE deal, and it was an excellent match, man. Because they gave the people there the style that they were wanting, because they were there to see ECW.
Yeah.
And they was getting kind of the WWE watered down version.
And that's what I was going to say, watered down.
And it was watered down, but those guys went out there and they lit it the hell up, man. And they gave those people what they wanted, and you could feel the electricity. That place is electric anyway, and it's a hot crowd, and when you're getting in tune with them and what they want, and you hit a lick like those guys did, it's a magic freaking moment that you can feel. And when you're in there performing and feel that, and man, it'll give you goosebumps, man. Those are the kind of moments that you work for, to feel that kind of emotion from a crowd. And those guys pulled it that night because they were hungry for it, man. It was like, damn, and then here those guys come out there and just they blew it out, man.
Had you worked at Hammerstein before that night?
No, I think that was my first time. That was
the first night. What did you think instantly when I'm sure you had heard about it and heard about the history, but
yeah, it was
like going in there.
I thought, damn, this is easier to find parking than it is for the garden. That was my first deal. And then, I thought it was, I enjoyed going there, man. I thought it was cool, the history of being there. And RVD showed me a really cool crow's nest spot where you can look down and see the crew and see the ring, see people, and nobody can see you, but you can see everything going on. And we was up there having a little smoke, watching like the ant colony, man, and every boom, boom, shit going on in every direction,
That's
and
fun.
we come. Yeah, it was cool. The Hammerstein, that's a really cool venue. And I'm happy to be one of the historical ones that I was able to work.
Thank you for that question, Matthew. Appreciate you joining us here on our first one live on the podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube. If you'd like to get a question in, make sure you hit subscribe. Subscribers only. It is free. Just hit that subscribe button. Also, you can hit notifications, and you'll be alerted every time we go live. We got John Redondo in the chat. Said, Nick,
what's up, John?
How crazy was it to be a part of the Punjabi Prison match of the Great American Bash 2006, Taker versus Big Show? Any funny stories of the Punjabi prison structure and match?
Not any really funny stories. It was just like when we got there and we saw that thing, it was like, oh my God, look at this thing, It was different, and I don't think they ever used it again for anything else since. It's not something that you can make an annual gimmick match out of. But it was huge, and it was impressive, and but no real anything come from it. It was more for the spectacle, and I think that they got that part of it done, but. Sometimes when you get spectacle and all that, it's hard to work with those things because they aren't designed to take bumps in and to work it with, Yeah. So you have to be kind of careful so you don't get hurt doing certain things, and that was one of them. It had a really cool look to it, and it looked badass, but there wasn't really a whole lot you could physically do with it, and it just was there to look cool, and be part of the story. But like I said, I don't think I've seen them use it ever again ever since. So that's a lot of money sunk into a one-time deal.
Well, I wanted to make sure because I remembered one more, but I forgot one of them. There has been 3 Punjabi Prison matches total in WWE history. Mm-hmm. Of course, Taker and Big Show, Great American Bash 2006, which we were talking about.
Yeah.
In 2007, No Mercy, Batista and the Great Khali.
Yeah.
And which I had forgot about, and the most recent WWE Battleground 2017, they brought it back for Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton. which was the most recent. And of course, in 06, Nick, that Great American Bash, the Great Khali was supposed to be involved in that in Big Show's place. And he had some liver issues, health issues.
Yeah.
And the Big Show took his place. What do you remember anything about that?
Not really. It doesn't really,
I just remember them changing them out and moving on.
I remember them swapping it out because they had to. And I remember that it didn't really make a lot of sense for the Big Show to be in a Punjabi gimmick, but it was advertised and they had to put somebody in there to do it, so you have to try and creatively tweak your storyline so that it makes some semblance of sense.
Sense,
yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Well, let's do this. This is a fun one. 40 ounces in it and said, will this be the new address, setup, and such? Yes, we will be weekly live here on the exclusively on the Podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube channel. We will be weekly, not bi-weekly as we were every single Wednesday. There might be a couple where if me or Nick got something going on. But every single Wednesday, we'll be live right here on the Podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube, so you can join us here. Also, 40 Ounces asking, how was it chilling with Mick? I just did a show last night here in Huntsville with Mick Foley. Had an absolute blast. We did share some Nick stories. One, he was telling the story about when he lost his ear in the ropes with Vader. And we were actually talking. He even talked on stage how you were supposed to be there for that trip in Germany. And I was even texting you. But he was like, hey, I couldn't remember. For some reason, you had two American refs, you and I believe somebody else, but both of you could not make that trip. So that a German ref or not an American ref for that match. You were talking, you had a health issue in the family. So did you not go or did you have to go home?
No, I was there and they rushed me home. I was there for the first couple of shows. I didn't, I wasn't there for that one. Man, what a story that is too. The promoter that was there, a guy named Barry, he had a Mercedes and man, he took me in that Mercedes to get me to the airport from the venue where I was at so I could make the flight, because they changed all my flight stuff for me and took me so I could get home because it was very serious, man. And we almost lost him. And, man, I looked down and he broke it down to what we was doing in miles per hour, and we were doing about 140. And I was like, holy shit, but it was so smooth. In this Mercedes, and some of those people.
German engineering, baby.
Yeah, man. And they get out there on some of those German highways, and some of them, they got those fat ass cars, they can go, and they don't feel like you're going that fast. But I realized I was going 140. I was like, oh my God. I'm glad I smoked a little bit before I got in there.
So you went home. So you missed that match, which was the infamous Vader Foley, where he got caught up in the rings and the ropes. And lost ripped part of his ear off there. But he did tell me a funny story. If anybody knows Mick or you've seen him talk or, any of his podcasts with Conrad or any of that, he's the big gruff, burly guy, but he's kind of a sensitive guy.
Yeah.
He's
friendly not at all what you expect.
And he was telling me he would ride with you guys a lot, you and Man Mountain Rock. And he said all the time, of course, he goes, Nick, they're just jamming that rock and roll all the time and metal and rock and all this stuff. And he said one time he's asking y'all, do you have anything a little bit more mellow to listen to? And he said he couldn't remember, but one of y'all started playing what's her name? Tori.
The chick that used to grind on on our piano bench.
Tori Amos?
I think so. Yeah, Max knew some different songs. Yeah.
Said he started playing Tori Amos and everybody chilled out in the car. And he had never heard Tori before. And then it was like one of his go-to artists to like listen to and get in the mode for wrestling. Funny. So he always associates that and her music with y'all for taking a break from the metal for just a second.
That's funny. I got a funny story with him. They flew him and I. We was doing Salisbury, Maryland, and then on to Baltimore. Mick Foley.
Mick, okay.
Yeah, this is back in WCW days, and I had long hair, you know, at the time, and earrings and all. And he had long hair, but for some reason they just flew us two into Salisbury and everybody else into Baltimore. So it was the only two. So I'm in the car, and we're coming from the opposite end of town to get to the building, and it's just, you know, this is, you know, we didn't have GPS, all that shit, you know. So we're in traffic, and I'm going to pull up, and he's going to pull up next to this older guy. It's an older guy and his wife, and they've got two kids in the back seat. And I roll the window down, and I go, "Excuse me, sir." I was going to ask him if he knew where I think it was a civic center, whatever building it was in Salisbury. I can't remember the name of it now. And I went to ask this guy, and the guy's he clutched onto his steering wheel. His eyes went like this, went, and he looked over at us, and he looked, and just without even looking straight ahead, he's looking straight at us with his face like that. He stomped on the freaking gas pedal and went boom, rear-ended the car that was in front of him. He was just going to get the hell away from us. He hit the gas and bam, he hit that car. And me and Mick looked at each other and went, "Holy shit!" And we thought, we said, "Should we get out?" I said, "God, he just had a wreck with us waving at him. If we get out of the car, he's liable to have a freaking heart attack."
He's gonna think y'all are gonna whoop him.
So we just kept on going, man. We went into finding a gas station up the road and tried to ask directions, man. It was like, I was just, as I said, and I even said, "Excuse me, sir," like Mr. Polite, right? And he was like, "Ah, bam!" Oh my God.
You're scaring the locals, Nick.
Poor old guy.
You and Mick, I can't believe. Yeah, I bet y'all were a motley crew looking in that car. I bet y'all looked giant too. Y'all probably had some rental car and looked huge in it, and
he thought some demons from hell
no teeth and
that pulled up next to him and was coming
after him and his family. Yeah. All right, so that was fun to chop it up with Mick Foley last night here in Huntsville. Also, Doc Gallows was on with JBL and Briscoe and started talking about he had a snake back in the Deep South wrestling days. Do you remember any of that?
No, he didn't have a snake. He had a spider. He had a big ass spider.
Oh, spider. That's it. That's
spider. Yeah. And then one of the girls ended up using the spider gimmick because he ended up doing something else. But he was the first one that used the. They were trying to do like Jake the Snake used to do, similar gimmick, only had a big ass tarantula. And
really,
they put them out, and then we made a little production out of it, and then cut them up and then dumped the tarantula on there, and had the tarantula crawling on them. For it was pretty cool, actually.
No thanks. I'm not being the spider guy.
Yeah, it didn't catch on. He had one of them that was. Yeah, I guess he ended up having a couple of them. One of them was mean as hell. One of them just would crawl around. I let it crawl on me. Didn't you know? I've handled snakes and stuff before too, and it's not, not that I have. I love to handle snakes. So I don't really, It's not my favorite gimmick, but I'm not overly. I'm afraid of a wild snake, but a dormant snake, I'm not that afraid of them. And I've handled them before, but I'm not going to just go reach in and grabbing snakes. I know friends that handle snakes, and like Steve Regal, he's
he's got a bunch.
Yeah, he's got a collection. He's a reptile.
Yeah.
And he told me, if you're going to be a snake owner, you're going to get bit. That's just the way of life. If you own snakes, you're going to get bit. So, well, I don't think I'm going to own any snakes then.
My
I feel too sorry for the mice too, man. I hate seeing that, man.
Hey, have you ever did you know if you leave the mice in there, they'll
kill
the snake?
You're damn right. They got no choice.
One of them's going to win. They got to do a thing.
Yeah.
So they got
if the snake isn't hungry, then you can't leave the mouse in there. That mouse will kill him.
My ex had one, and she would go out of town. I'd have to take care of it. She had it when we got into our relationship.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Hey, if you clean the tank, just pick it up, set it out." And I said, "Can you guarantee me 100% it won't bite me?" And she said,
No.
Well, no, not 100%. But likely, and I go, that must like.
I ain't cleaning shit. Yeah, you better hire somebody to come do that. 'Cause I ain't going in there.
I said, y'all better hope it don't dirty this tank up because you're gonna come home to a dirty tank.
Yeah. I better hope you don't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, because they poop like a human. It's real bad.
Oh my God. I saw Jake's snake one time. This is a funny story. That Jake first comes to WCW and he attacks, they do the thing in Chicago where he attacks Sting, right? He dumped that big ass snake out, and the big snake wrapped around the bottom rope. And Jake had to pull him off because he was going to do something with it. So he's tugging on this friggin' snake, and the snake is hanging on, wrapped around the bottom rope. And about that third tug, the snake goes and shot snake shit. And it squirted about 2 or 3 people on the front row. And it was so nasty and disgusting. And it was those poor people.
It's big, it's nasty.
Oh, it was horrifying. I've never seen anything like that. It's funny now, but at the time I was like, oh God, I wanted to laugh, but it was just too damn gross, Oh,
hilarious. Yeah, no spiders and snakes for me, 40 ounce. We'll pass on that.
There's a song about that, I think, man. I don't like spiders and snakes from way back in 100,000 years ago.
What's that one? What's that jam?
Well, it's an old ass song. It's one of the country people did it, and I'm not even a country guy. It's an old song. I don't like spiders and snakes. I remember that when I was a kid. I don't remember who sang it.
Whatever it is, I agree with them.
It's out there. Yeah, there's an old song out there that has your sentiment.
Adam Krasnov said, Nick, you once mentioned that you were in the production meeting when Vince Russo came up with the idea to have Lance Storm rename the WCW Hardcore title to the Saskatchewan Hardcore International title, which is SHIT. With that being said, did you ever have any optimism for him to help turn things around for better when he first came from WWF to WCW?
At first, I didn't. I'm one of them you got to show me people. I didn't, when they brought him in, and he was supposed to have been this brilliant person for Vince and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's okay, but people down there wasn't always buying Vince's stuff too,
Yeah.
There was a difference. And so, he had to prove, he didn't ever prove to me, and so I never, I'm not a Russo guy at all. If you ask me, I just, and after watching the things that he was doing, it was more like they was trying to appeal to make little school kids giggle. Mom and daddy left the room. Oh, we spelled shit. Come on, man, give me a break. How is that going to put us in front of these guys that are pulling numbers, man? I don't think that's going to do it.
We haven't mentioned him much, but since his name got brought up, what was your thoughts on Lance Storm?
I always liked Lance. I thought he was a hell of a worker, and he had a good mind. I got along real well with him.
Nothing but positive.
Yeah. I never really knew anybody to have a problem with him, to be honest with you.
Let's see what we got. Hit us up. AOTV Productions hit us up in the super chat. Thank you for that. AOTV Productions said, what's the best way to describe Eric Bischoff?
That's hard. He's complicated, because I have a way different opinion of him now than I did back then, because I was talent. I was road talent. And and I had to be, we didn't have agents. Everybody has to negotiate their own shit, And I didn't really know him that well, and didn't know of his personality or what kind of person he was, because he was always dealing with the egos. He had to deal with all, and I was the ref. I wasn't invited to the Christmas parties and all that stuff, which if I would have been, I probably wouldn't win anyway. That's just, I'm different, man. It's just me. But he was very in tune constantly with what he, I thought he was very smart, but again, I had the same attitude back then. You got to prove it to me. I knew that he came from being an announcer, and I didn't know, well, how do you come from being an announcer to all of a sudden calling corporate shots? That's a big leap, that's a big friggin' leap. But,
when did that start to change where you started believing in him?
When we started pulling the ratings, when because I was there all those lean years with WCW.
Yeah.
We were the number two. Good. Nice try, kids. But you're never gonna be that. And it's frustrating because if you're considered the competition, you want to be competition. You don't want to be a solid number two.
Right.
Literally or figuratively. So.
And then now you said it's changed now. The older you've got, what's your opinion of him now?
I think that he was a brilliant businessman and he had a lot of patience and put up with a lot of bullshit. And I think that he could probably step in if they would give him the reins and not try to muffle him or muzzle him. He could probably take one of these wrestling companies and do the same damn thing again. My opinion now. My opinion of him changed a lot when I did the podcast with you guys, and we talked about that.
Yeah.
I did a podcast where we talked about the Hogan Sting thing that from the big SummerSlam. But that was a lot, man. That could be a whole story in itself. That could be a movie.
It is, yeah.
That could be a freaking movie out of that day.
It's the topics of many articles and podcasts and interviews. Yeah.
Yeah. But, after talking to him and because he came and did a show, man, for me. And he made an appearance at one of my Deep South shows on his own dime. He showed up, he paid his own room, his own trans, his own everything. And he came and was a part of one of my shows because I did a podcast for him, man. Hell, all I did was a podcast for him. And he did all of that for me and my company.
It's awesome.
And I know that my dad liked him a lot. My dad had a lot of opinion of him, so no matter what I may have thought in the past, I always valued my dad's opinion because sometimes he could see things that I didn't always see, in people and in people's talents as well. There's different people that he'd ask me back in the day, who do you think's better, this guy or that guy? And I'd pick a certain guy, and it would be the same guy he'd pick. And sure as hell, down the road, 10 years later, the guy that he picked would be hitting like crazy. And the guy that I picked would be still floundering, Okay. All right, man. He could see things, But, I don't know how I got on that subject.
Well, your dad loving Eric Bischoff. I told you a lot.
Yeah.
Also, AOTV wants to know, what do you think of the career Charles Robinson has had? Of course, still going. Saturday night's main event this past week. He was in there for Goldberg's last match. Took a spear. I think he broke a rib in that if I saw his social media, but still rocking and rolling. Said he's still coming back better than ever. What do you think of Charles Robinson's career? Little Nate.
I love Charles Robinson to death. Great guy, super nice person. And a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to ride that wave. Man, because Charles came from the day when we was pulling 300 days, a year. He come from that era, so he knows what it's like to constantly always be on the road.
Putting up the ring.
And putting up the ring man, he dedicates his life to this industry, and he's had a great run and a well-deserved run. And he's a good person. He's one of my favorite people from wrestling. That because he's sincere and he's a kind-hearted person. Like all the time in the world for Charles, and I'm glad that he's still able to ride that wave. Because I'm telling you, staying on a wave, especially up there, I don't know how it is now because it's supposedly new ownership and all that. But I know when I was
made
there,
it through everybody.
Yeah, man. I know when I was up there, it was a damn hard wave to ride and to pull years out of. Especially after having a long WCW ride. So that's man. When I finished up, I was ready. I had just pulled 12 years in a row with WCW and 9 with WWE, back to back international companies going somewhere. Unless I was hurt and home injured, I was going out of the country somewhere once a month, every month, and on the road. Bam, 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 bam. Man, I was gold and platinum with all the different airlines and. A million miler with Delta, man, that's yes. Whew. We ran hard.
How old are you now?
I'm about 65 this year in November.
Charles, 61, still out there.
Still rolling.
Breaking a rib from taking a bump. That's crazy.
Getting speared by Goldberg.
That is crazy. And one more from AOTV. Thank you for that, brother. Appreciate you hitting us up in the super chat. Kevin Nash said in the nWo documentary, the first huge blunder for WCW was the nWo pay-per-view. Do you agree with that?
That was a blunder, but it was a learning experience, and it kind of put him in a. That's a hard question, really. There were so many different aspects. There's no one thing, and I know that they all say, "Who killed WCW? What killed WCW?" No one person or no one thing. It was a conglomeration of things, all happening, And I do think that was. It left us with very little to go from. Where do you go from here? They tried to turn everybody, and I understand what they was trying to do, but they tried to make everybody nWo. I guess they want us to look like this giant gang that was taking over the world. But to me, it watered down so many different characters not being able to be their character and have a different look and a different feel. And, for them to all of a sudden, everybody was, either nWo or not nWo.
Yeah.
And it took guys out of their character and out of their element. And to me, it watered them down. And it took away from the variety of the look on your show, and so it's from that aspect it was, and I had to be very careful because I refereed, and I think I'm the only ref to have ever done that I know of, that refereed every single match on a pay-per-view. But I had to make sure that I didn't go out there. I had to really, really tone my shit down all night long because I didn't want it to be the Nick Patrick show.
Where you're involved in every single match.
Yeah, because after 2 hours of that, it'd been like, oh my God, that would have given me a headache. You know what I mean?
We get it. You're a bad guy.
So I had to super tone my stuff down, and it was hard as hell to do, man. I worked my ass off that night, brother. I'm here to tell you. But, I'm kind of glad I did it now because I don't know if anybody else that has done it. It's one of those things that when you're doing it, you think, man, this sucks ass. Why in the hell am I? And then after it's done, you think, well, nobody else has done it, and I pulled it off. So, all right.
Yeah. Thank you for that, AOTV Productions. Great questions. We appreciate it. Look at different styles. He said we could ask Nick questions for days. We could. Yes, thank you. Ash has a question. Yes. Memories or funny stories of the bloodbath of Cena versus JBL and that I Quit match, Judgment Day 2005. Was the blood insane of Cena to watch as a ref?
Yeah.
Cena was an absolute bloody mess.
Yeah, he hit hard, man. That was one of the last few times that I remember, guys really, really zigging, and they wanted it to be good, and he wanted it to be good, and they got it, man. But it was one of those times that I was just waiting for him to come through my earpiece and tell me, okay, we're going to have to stop this, because he was bleeding hard, and there's been a couple of times that I've seen guys not be able to close it up and have to go to the hospital to get it to stop bleeding, so that you don't, what are you going to bleed out, I saw Brad Armstrong do that one time, and it was in Huntington, West Virginia, and we, back in the day, we used a certain kind of of blade to do it, and then surgical blades come out, and he tried one, and oh my God, you don't really feel it. They're so much sharper than a normal. The other one you can feel when you do it. It's a little like a little bee sting kind of. It's no big deal, but you can feel it. It's more, you can almost hear it. I don't know if you ever torn anything out in your body, you can hear a little cartilage or something when you tear. The same thing if when you're getting cut. You can feel it, a little gristle tear, a little thing. It's really weird. But with those surgical blades, they are so damn sharp that man, you don't even realize you're cut sometimes, and you're to the freaking bone. And Brad we couldn't get it stopped no matter what we did. Ice packs, compression, everything. It was just, he had to go to the hospital, and man, it was touchy, man. It's dangerous, and I think back of all the years that we did all that, and how nasty and unsanitary it is. All the
Oh my
all
gosh,
the germs and stuff, man. I think of all the times that I carried one in my friggin' hand for an entire match, sweating on it, and then getting up and down, and then zip. Like what the hell? I am crazy.
Great question, Ash. Appreciate you bringing that up. Y'all can chime in the comment section. I was just asked, what's the biggest bloodbath match you remember watching? Y'all hit us up in the chat for that. Love to hear y'all's opinion on that. Hitting back to the mailbag, we've already answered a couple of Adam's messages. Let's get to this one. This should be a fun one. Adam said during the WWF purchase of WCW in 2001, there were some guys who were picked up but sent to developmental in the Heartland Wrestling Association and were subsequently cut before getting to appear on Raw or SmackDown. He said, here's the list of the top 5 WCW talents whose contracts were brought in 2001, sent to developmental, but never made WWE TV. I'd like to get your take on each of these, please. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 5, Jason Jett, known as Easy Money in ECW, before signing with WCW about a month before WCW closed. And an interesting fact about him is he wrestled on both the final ECW and the final WCW pay-per-view of that same year. It's pretty interesting. Do you remember interacting with him in his short stint?
No, I don't. I really don't. I don't know if I don't think I worked one of his matches. I might have, because I've done. I don't know how many I could. There's no number that I could put on how many matches I've done throughout my life. But the name kind of vaguely rings a bell. But that in itself would tell you something. If I didn't remember him, and he was a green kid that had just come in, and was a couple weeks there, then that would have been the proper thing to do, to send him somewhere to see if he would fit in or wouldn't fit in, and they had so many people that they were trying to look at. Unless you really stood out, that it was hard to get a spot. There was only so many spots.
Yeah. Easy Money. I was trying to get us a picture here just in case it jogged your memory. There is Jason Jett, Easy Money.
Okay, I remember the face, but
Jason Broyles was his name.
He was young and unproven, and yeah, I agree with what they did. I don't know how they treated him, and they may have cut him soon, but if they cut him, then it's because he didn't get their attention.
All right, let's see the next on the list. Here's a fun one. Kwee-Wee, Alan Funk, best known for his Adrian Street-inspired gimmick in WCW. What do you remember about Kwee-Wee?
Super Nice guy, and could work, and had a gimmick, and it's hard to learn how to work a gimmick, and he could work his gimmick from a very early stage, and he just needed ring time, and he was getting that ring time. But I don't know why he didn't fit in, or what the deal was, but he is one of the kids that I would question why they would just have cut him without giving him a chance, because I've seen people up there that did get a chance that had lesser talent than that guy.
Yeah, he always had a fun gimmick to me. Had that wild hair.
Yeah.
Looking just
had a decent look. He was always in shape. He worked hard.
Always in shape. Yeah. Look, body was $1 million.
Yeah.
I actually got to meet him. I didn't know it was him until he introduced himself as Kwee-Wee. There's a good look at him. Looking great, wild hair. But did not get that run when they made the switch over. Here's a fun one. Above average Mike Sanders. He was the mouthpiece for the Natural Born Thrillers faction in WCW. Of course, the rest of that group, the Natural Born Thrillers, Sean O'Hare, Mark Jendrick, Chuck Palumbo, Sean Stasiak, got put on WWF TV right away, but not their mouthpiece. Above average Mike Sanders. What do you remember about him, if anything, Nick?
I thought he was another talent that should have got a chance. But if you think of what was the common theme with the 4 names that you mentioned, great pumped up bodies. Mike didn't have a bad body, but he wasn't one of those big jacked up muscle kids that Vince loved. and was looking for at that time. And see, nice, but that's a normal body. That's not a gas. That's not a gassed up, pumped up guy. He had tons of personality. He could work. He could have been part of the deal. But like I said, there was only so many spots, and they were looking for folks that really stood out. And I think him not being as jacked as those other guys is probably what held him back. Just my opinion, because he had other attributes that you could use.
The next one, a friend of mine and yours. I do a podcast with him on ad-free shows, and I know you know him very well. Lash LaRue, of course, the Raging Cajun throughout the years. Of course, he made that transfer, was a great hand quite regularly on WCW television, especially during those final 2 years. Just an incredible talent, super athletic, great gimmick, of course, he's a great artist as well. We do the 60-minute time limit draw on ad-free shows. What do you remember about old Lash LaRue? I
remember Lash he had a ton of talent, and he could work. He had like all those things that you said. They were always on Lash to try and lean out and lose weight. And it wasn't that he was heavy, but they wanted lean. They were trying to achieve that look that Vince had to have at that period of time.
Yeah.
And he didn't have that. So I remember that part of it. But that's really about all I remember of that, to be honest with you, that they was trying to get him to lean out. And he did to an extent. But I don't know if his heart was in it or not, because Lash, he's a good friend of mine, but he's a homeboy too, and he missed being home, and we was running hard in WCW.
Yeah.
And they were expecting some of our people that were hitting hard and running and had already gained some foothold to just forget all of that and start from scratch again. You're just a jabroni coming out of the chute, and that's hard. It's hard to take,
I think some of these guys too that are on, especially on this list, WCW had that. You guys were showing off the cruiserweights. Great division of so many cruiserweights. And then, like you said, Vince wants these jacked up big guys. Right. He loves the big guys. Right. Of course, had his bodybuilding federation, the whole deal. And so some of these, the cruiserweights that got brought over, super talented, but Vince just didn't have a spot and didn't want to showcase them enough. And he already had his own cruiserweights that he was showcasing. Yeah. So they were all in a tough spot there, I think, for some of these guys.
Hard to stand out, in that, because they see every move under the sun. You're another guy doing that. Oops, I might hit my microphone. Another guy doing that. It's that's the deal, is to try to find a way to make yourself stand out amongst the rest. And the way to do that to me is psychology and storytelling. There's so many tumbling act things. And at the end of the day, you've seen a tumbling act. And the storytellers are the guys that end up getting the main event slots in WrestleMania.
Yeah, Lash was so fun. If y'all want to check that out, shameless plug, ad-free shows. We do it about once a quarter, 60-minute time limit draw, where, as you know, Nick, he's an incredible illustrator, incredible artist. He had his stuff in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He's had his cartoons there, and he actually draws whatever our subject is, draws it in 60 minutes right in front of us while he takes your questions. And then you can buy the print afterwards. So I encourage y'all to check that out over at Ad-Free Shows. The last one that Adam brought up that did not make that push in WWF after WCW closed, and that is Elix Skipper. Elix Skipper, a bit of a push near the end of WCW with Lance Storm and Team Canada. After getting cut with WWF, he ended up having a successful run in TNA. What do you remember about Elix Skipper?
He was another guy that I didn't understand why they didn't do something with, because he had a ton of talent. He could do unbelievable athletic.
Incredible.
Did you see the spot that he did in TNA where he ran down the top of the cage and did a Frankensteiner Hurricanrana off, ran down it, jumped up, and bam. I've never seen anybody else do that before, or since.
Incredible.
This guy had a look. He had. I don't know how his promo went. I don't know if he had all that skill because they didn't stick a microphone in his face a whole lot that I remember. But he definitely had the look, and he could do some incredible super athletic things. He had good timing, and it was just a matter of being on the road and getting time in, putting reps in. If you're going to be a pro golfer, you got to be on the golf course all the time. If you're going to be a pro wrestler, you got to be on the road all the damn time.
Yeah, maybe it was just bad timing. When him and Lance teamed up, I thought that was a great run. Team Canada was fun. Like you said, they're both great in the ring. They both look great. Maybe just not his time and many others. Look, I'm sure you can attest more than anything, Nick. There's a lot of talented people somehow just slip through the cracks in the wrestling business throughout the years. There's no rhyme or reason sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not. You can't always blame it on them. Sometimes they haven't found a way to make themselves stand out, but sometimes they just haven't had. Writing hasn't been their friend either, and there's been several of those different instances,
Some of them, I think about some of those cruiserweights too, kind of wrong place, wrong time, because now you look at AEW and a lot of the other federations that they can wrestle for. Yeah, that style's in. They want to see that. They want to see flipping and jumping and all the fast stuff, all the high spots, and maybe it's the wrong place, just in the wrong era,
That's why it's good that there's more than two big companies now. Opportunities, and gives a place for you. Find a way to stand out somewhere. Because if you stand out at one of those other places, they're going to want you to come stand out at their place. So, that's the key at this time. It's a sea of people out there, and you have to find a way to make you and your gimmick and your look be unique and stand out from everybody else.
Well, Nick, we have the hour has flown by on our first here live weekly Nick Patrick's Mailbag on Podcast Heat Wrestling YouTube channel. Want to appreciate everybody for joining us. Before we leave, we talked about making yourself stand out and more options for more wrestlers. And, of course, you are running Deep South Wrestling, continuing right there in the heart of Atlanta. You guys are growing. Every time I talk to you, another show on deck, another great show under your belt. You actually just hit a new venue this past week.
Yeah, it was Monday Night Garage. It was on the West End in Atlanta. It's a Monday Night Brewery, and they have the big indoor. We were indoors out of the heat, man, and it was really nice. We had a packed crowd, and they were hot, man. They had a great time, and the guys were. I was so impressed by my show, and I talk to my kids as they come back. I catch them as they come through, and I try positive reinforcement. If somebody needs some negative, I'll pull them off to the side and not read their ass out in front of everybody, but I'll get them off the side and I'll give them what they need to hear.
Right.
But I like to accentuate the positive, and they had so much positive coming through the curtain at my show. And at the end, when I watched it, I thought to myself, if we were shooting a pilot, that one right there that we just did tonight would have been the one. The people were rocking. They had a great time from start to finish. The people that we went and was doing business with were happy and signed us right back to come back again next month. And it's going to be hot, man. It's going to be a good new venue for us to run in the city, because we're trying to stay inside the perimeter and hit different parts, because there's so many different little parts of town now that are just absolutely thumping. It's not like it was when I was a kid. I grew up in the burbs as a kid, and they kind of had to talk me into doing because a lot of the folks that are helping me are from inner city. They live and grown and they live in the inner city, so they know how it works and the timing and what people like in different areas, and Atlanta's changed so much from I was a kid from the 70s. Hell, this is 2025 now.
Yeah,
and it's just with that belt line that's on there, you can just go and you can walk to different areas that are just so cool. There's so many places to go, the restaurants and shops and new housing, and it's hot right now, man, and it's cool to be a part of it, man. And that's where we are. That's where we're building our fan base. And as I look through the crowd at our last show, man, we've got an awesome demographic, and we've got kids. We had so many kids. We had over 100 kids there, just kids. And there's check out Facebook, and there's one of our a kid on one of our tag teams, a guy named Luca Daniels. He was out there wrestling, and he was giving those kids a hard time. And he had those kids worked up, and then he got knocked on his butt. He went out on the floor, and I swear to God, about 60 kids swarmed him, and they were all dancing around going, they had the time of their life. At first I went, oh God, when I saw those kids charge the ring, but his interaction, he was so good with it. He was worked with those kids, and he crawled away and got from them. He go, leave me alone. Y'all better leave me alone. And they were, yeah. And after I got finished watching it, I caught myself smiling, and I said, "Oh my God! If something can make my grouchy old ass smile, then there was something good. There was something there." My face didn't. I had to check to make sure it didn't crack. But yeah, you got to check us out, Deep South, man. Check us out on YouTube and check out our website,
Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
WeAreDeepSouth.com is where you can find it. And like you said, you got some cool shows, cool venues coming up. You're going to be wrestling at Cool Ray Field for the Gwinnett Stripers, a little baseball action. The Grand Slam Showdown, that's going to be July 19th. So that is coming up this Saturday night in the Atlanta area up there at the Gwinnett Stripers, Cool Ray Field. And it is included when you get into the baseball game. The wrestling is free, but come out and check them out. A great card there. This is your second time there, right?
Yes, sir. We was there last year. Yeah, this is our second time there, and it was so fun last year. And I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get people to watch my mom and Nick for me, so I can make this one, because it was a ball. And our different wrestlers interact throughout the game with different, do different little skits and stuff throughout. It's a lot of fun, man, and family oriented. And if you had never been out to check out the stadium, the Cool Ray Stadium out there, man, you got to go. That is such a nice, man, and a cool area in town, man. All the condos and stuff surrounding it, people going to sitting out on their patios and watching baseball. And it's really a cool part of town, man. Come check us out, because the wrestling and baseball, it goes together. For years here in the city of Atlanta, wrestling and baseball was huge, man. And,
you also got coming up July 27th.
Yeah,
you've got the dawn of Hoochie Daddy.
That's our new champion.
Narcissism is back.
Yeah, that's our new champion. He turned on Jacob Johnson, and Narcissism is showing a side that we haven't seen before. But he's still bringing that energy, that high impact style that he has. He's just an attitude change. But he is the Deep South champion right now, and until somebody dethrones him, he's the man.
And then coming up a little bit later, you'll be going back Monday Night Garage. You will be back there for a big show. Deep South returns for another afternoon, free for all there at the Monday Night Garage. So a lot of big things coming up.
Yeah, Monday Night Garage was cool. That's the one that we just did. I was telling you. And there's a lot. It's hard to go to find a place in Atlanta where you can find free parking for your event, and they've got it there at Monday Night Garage. You can go. I mean, it's a lot of people there. Don't get me wrong, but they've got a couple of. It's a really cool little section, man. It's real close to Tyler Perry Studios. It's got the brewery there. There's a couple of pubs there, and it's a little family oriented thing, man. You can go. There's parking. It's come check us out. We had a blast last time, and we're going to blow the roof off that place again, man.
Well, thank you to everybody who joined us. I know we had some first timers. That's what it's all about. We're out here in the free world now. We're out here out behind the paywall. We're strutting around in the front yard, and everybody's coming to hang out with us. So we appreciate y'all for getting your questions in. We appreciate everybody who hit us with super chats. AOTV Productions, Mike D, 40-ounce C-Dub. We appreciate y'all all signing up, hitting us up in the super chats. Appreciate everybody who got any questions on the ad-free show's mailbag. I believe we want to make sure we got to all those. So wherever you're listening to this, get a question in and we'll answer it. Wrestling, music, food, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, crazy would you rathers, we'll talk about it every single week. Now, weekly here on the Podcast Heat Wrestling Show. So just a reminder, you got to like and subscribe. If you want to be a part of the show, subscribe to the channel. Then you can hit us up in the chat and the super chats. Make sure you turn on those notifications. You do that, and that way you'll know every time we go live and all of our other great shows here on the Podcast Heat Wrestling channel. Nick, this has been a fun one, man. It's fun to be out here in front of everybody.
Yeah, I used to say it all the time, and I'll continue to say it. This is the most fun gig I've had, man. Sitting around and talking with people about the business that I love and grew up in. This is always a fun hour, man. It's like you said, it flies by. It feels like I've been here about 15 minutes.
Yeah, if we did not get to your question, join us next time. We'll try to get to it then.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can always hit us up in the super chats. Follow us on social media. Like Nick Patrick said, we are Deep South. That's all over social media. Just look up Deep South Wrestling. I'm at the Casio Kid across the board. And, of course, Podcast Heat all over as well. Thank you, Nick. I'm Casio. Thanks, everybody, for hitting us up. We'll see you back here again next week, next Wednesday, for Nick Patrick's Mailbag.